So, hello everyone. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So, um, now that we're all here, um, let's get started. It is a great pleasure to have Frank Rosenwein back at SFCM. He did a wonderful class for us a couple years ago on the location of what now is the Bow Center. I think, Frank, you'll be very impressed when you come back and see what it looks like now. Um, I truly don't need to introduce him, but uh, I'll just say that Frank Rosenwein, principal oboist of the Cleveland Orchestra, professor of Cleveland Institute of Music, and equally, if not more important, one of the best people I've ever met in this profession. And also, he sort of destroys the stereotype that oboe players are stressed and nervous and just kind of difficult to get along with. Maybe you can do a masterclass on how to be a normal and happy human being
I'm very
as
angry. I'm
well.
a very angry person. So
I guess I just don't know you very well, but
yeah.
it is a great pleasure to have you. Thank you, Frank, for doing this, and we look forward to having you in person, hopefully next year.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank
So,
you so much. What a pleasure. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. I'm so glad we could do this.
Jeannie, you sent me a list of people, and I explained to Mr. Rosenwein that Daniel isn't here because he's out of town. But let's do the math. So we have 2 hours. I would like to leave about 20 minutes for some Q&A, and maybe about there's four of you playing, so we can do easily like 20, 25 minutes each and then just see how it goes, okay? So let's start with Jeannie, and you can maybe introduce yourself, tell Mr. Rosenwein about what year you are and what you're about to play for us.
Hello, my name is Jini. I'm a senior. I'm starting with Mr. Izotov. I would like to play the third movement of Mozart Concerto.
Great, great. Thank you, thank you. Wow. Okay, I guess I'm supposed to say something about this. That's fantastic. It's really fantastic. Do you have a cadenza for it?
I'm still working on it.
Are you writing your own?
Mhm.
Good. Yeah. Good. Yeah, I always encourage people to write their own cadenzas, even if this doesn't become the cadenza that you are going to use for the rest of your life. In fact, don't make it the cadenza that you're going to use for the rest of your life. Write one now. Write one in a couple years when you do it again. Keep experimenting with it. Um, good. I mean, this is fabulous playing. It's so perky. The character is just right. It sounds so fluid, easy, tossed off, right? Like it's nothing. This is this is impressive. I mean, I guess where I could say maybe something would be just the a rondo is a repetitive thing, and every time you have the rondo theme, I suppose we could do something slightly different with it. Um, and then that can carry over into maybe a little bit more variety of tone and color here and there. So let me ask you, what are your thoughts about the articulation? When you got into this like minore section here, like 170, 168, whatever that, right in there, you were using lots of mixed articulations. But earlier, you're doing a lot of either 2 and 2 or a lot of just slurred. So what are your thoughts about the slurring versus tonguing?
Um, I'm just trying to do what is written in the music. So are you talking about the difference between like mixed articulation and like all slurred articulation?
Yeah, like so for example, let's see. Like around 60 64. Can you just play what you play at 64?
Mhm.
Okay, good. And then can you just do the first rondo theme? I see. Yeah, you're right. You're right. This is exactly what's written in the music. So the thing is, but you can be adventuresome. So what is written there in terms of what he is given can be a good starting point. But depending on say what kind of flavor you want to give this, you can mess around. So for example, okay, I have it like pulled up on my phone, so it's tiny. All right, hold on. Okay. So like when we get to something like 100, if you wanted to make this more varied, you could start by messing with the articulation. So for example, if I want to be bold and measure 100, and articulate mostly. Like let's say I'll just articulate the first of it, and articulate everything. But let's say I want to be cute here, or a little more seductive, or a little more, suggestive, something like that. Then maybe I can slur, do 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. Likewise, if you wanna give something like a lift, you can say slur 3. So for example, when you get to 170, so just starting that. we could do something like that, and that also I do something like that in the first movement. That part. So you can use articulation as a kind of a starting point for variability, for getting into different characters within this. So, and you can even switch stuff around. So if at the beginning you want this to be a stately theme, that's great. Or great, but then when it comes back, there's no reason why you can't. Now we're articulating some of it. And then here, yeah. That's not very inventive, but there are inventive ways that you can come up with varying the articulation. And then via that, we just get variability. We just get slight deviations, and it creates the interest. The other thing you can do is, and maybe this is controversial, but this is a very free spirited movement. I don't think there's any reason why later on, when you've played this theme, you can't just come up with just in the spirit of something like this, right? That we have magic, right? That we have dance, that we have spontaneity, because that can be one of the things that holds us back in this piece from it sounding, as brilliant as we want to have it sound. So, now so the articulation can and some of that spontaneity of the of ornamentation can be a starting point for getting us to have more variability, but also any kind of shading that happens, any kind of minor cast that creeps in, any kind of deviation from what we might think of as normal, we can bring out even more. So you can do even more phrasing, for example, like when it comes to, let's say, 55, right? So I thought you did excellently here. You pushed through these C's into the trill. That was so brilliant. Great, doing that, and then maybe reacting to it. Kind of a shying away, and now emerge even more. And then that can have even more shape to it coming away, and then so then it becomes I think a little bit more like what we want Mozart to sound like, which is operatic, right? Characters in an opera flitting about doing this and that. So why don't we just try a little bit of this, if you wouldn't mind. Let's do it from there, from 55. Good. And now let's mess around a little bit with the articulation of 64, 65, 66, 67, right in there. That is to say, let's do in 65, let's do the second beat all articulated. So mean, the point of it being that we can think of slurs maybe as kind of serioso, or having brilliance, or having, just having one kind of character, and then the articulation can have a different character. So if you want, so say 65 to feel like there's an impulse at 65, a direction towards 65, and then a direction away, it's kind of nice to have the articulation be a way of just distancing ourselves. Having a lightening quality to them. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. That is to say, articulation can also be a way of driving something through, or having something sound even more intense. All I'm suggesting is that you work within slurring and articulation to just come up with your own sense of the possibilities. That was good. Can we go 79? Yeah, fantastic. And what if, the height of what you're doing is 85, right? Like that's where you go for it. You're leading to that. So that's great. What if that somehow gets emphasized even more, either by, and it can be, this might be an opportunity to do one of these slurring 3, just to slightly alter the symmetry. Mozart can be very symmetrical, which is beautiful, but symmetry also can lend itself to regularity, which lends itself to predictability, right? So the more we can play with expectations, play a little bit within that symmetry, the better. Not to destroy the symmetry, but now somehow 85 just has a slightly different, maybe more exultant quality to it than what had happened before. That's that kind of thing. You want to just try from 79 one more time?
Sure. There you go. Great. And I wouldn't even feel bad about crashing into the second beat of 88. Like, you're doing such nice, beautiful shaping throughout this whole thing. Here again, instead of coming away to the second beat of 88, what happens if you just go on through? It's the highest note we have in the whole phrase. Well, not like that, but finding that the power there. Yeah. Can I start it over?
Just start in the middle of that. No problem. Yeah, you came away to the D. If that's your instinct, that's perfectly beautiful. But you could also just feel like, just a straight line to it. You want to try it right there? Maybe 86. Yeah, it's like, it just gives it maybe just a slightly more, less organized. It's a little more spontaneous, something like that, right? So we find the spontaneity within the organizational,
Great, great. Yeah, just stuff like that. Wow, I mean, this stuff around here, around 90, is like, yeah, that is money. That you doing. It's really beautiful and so tossed off, and it sounds fantastic. Let's just work with maybe a little bit of characterization. Let's find different characters to come out and say, you know, this person comes on stage and says his piece, and then there's the servant who says something else, and then so all this kind of operatic stuff. Let's just start at 100. Pick up to 100. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I wonder if when you reach the heights of 107, 108, if you wouldn't just sing, 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 sing. So there's so much in here, like the first movement. There's so much in here that is zippy, that's electric, that's got this really palpable I don't know, Frisian here, but we look for the places where we can sing. We look for these places. So in the first movement, for example, like this is a point to which we have arrived, so it can we can sing it out. Likewise here. And now you can change up the character or whatever, This can, but or you could sing here. I mean, this works too. So it's again, it's like different characters talking to each other. For me though, if I get to a point where it does sing, I want to just maximize the singing that I can do. So 107, 108, 109, 110. I just want to sing that through and then see what happens later. You want to just do that run up to the 106?
Sure.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, you kind of bracket by doing that. You take 107 to 110, and you make it emotive and juicy, and then you bracket that with all this kind of electric stuff. The stuff that sounds very fluid and easy, and then I think we get a kind of a broader picture of what you're doing. Great. Mm-hmm.
Is it better like this? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I was going to ask you, if you don't mind, Frank, can you talk a little bit about your cadenza, writing cadenza, just advice on how to write cadenzas for this piece, since you mentioned it earlier?
Oh my God, I wish that I knew how to write cadenzas, but I anytime I'm gonna play this, I write it again just so I can practice it. I mean, so a couple things that I've come up with that just help a little bit is to just give yourself a little bit of an outline, to not make it too much of a let me just noodle around. And I mean, there's a lot of noodling, but to the extent that you can say, okay, I want to develop this theme, and then I want that to transition to this theme. At least just like have a structure like that. I want to take two themes and I want to just do a little bit of developing in there, and then I'm going to use certain techniques to get from that one to the next one. Diminished chords are your friend, because you can kind of like go off in any direction from them. And
sequences.
I'm sorry. I think someone has to make a T-shirt with that statement. Okay, I just think it's great.
Yeah, yeah. This is like I mean, if you're taking advice from me, this is like cadenza writing for dummies, but or from a dummy to other people. So but just in my like, you know, in my meager way of trying to manage cadenzas, that's more or less what I've tried to do there.
Thank you, Frank. Maybe we can move on to the next
Okay,
person
all
flying,
right.
which will be Colton. Thank you, Jini.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jini.
Hi, Mr. Rosenwein.
Welcome.
I would like to play for you some excerpts from Beethoven's Third Symphony.
All right. Okay. Great. Okay, yeah, Colton, beautiful. The flow is great. The like the rhythmic integrity of it is fantastic. Yeah, beautiful playing, beautiful playing. I just basically, you know, I just have one possible thing that might be helpful, which is to say that this is the way you're playing it is very, it has all of the great qualities of being like austere, you know. It feels very serious, right? But it lacks a little bit of threat, and I think if you can just add in just a little bit of not even the realization of violence, but the threat of something dire, a little more dire, a little more. The screw might turn at some point. So what I'm getting at, for example, is something smoldering. So for example, in the beginning of it, if the pickup and then this G can feel like you're about to grab somebody, you know, yum, baba. The yum can be a bigger yum in the beginning, and then I would say think of this this G, the downbeat G, as like this threatening thing. It's coming towards you, and then somehow via the grace note, it gets redirected. So and then there's something about the E flat
that it's not totally just beautiful and austere. It also just has a little bit of steel in it. And then so it pushes just a little bit. Now the G is innocent, you know, sort of distant, sort of austere as you have. And in the middle of the E flat comes that, you know, the F sharp against it. So that, you know, so you can bring out the middle of that E flat, and then again we're hovering. We don't know what's going to happen to this A flat. Like, we don't know that it's going to go into sunny E flat. Like, that A flat might the knuckles of it might come at us. So there's a kind of sense of it, and then it softens. It softens. Now it's all beauty and joy, and then as it goes on, you know, just to highlight a couple of these little things, warm and golden as you start into this B flat to E flat, B flat. Now when you get to your A flat, now starts a little bit of the threat again. You know, and so you could, it's like the steeliness of that E, and then the absolute kind of brittleness of the B flats, baby, and then kind of limpid and pathetic. So just that kind of stuff. Yeah, sorry, I've been talking a lot. Why don't you? I'd like to hear you.
Yeah, thank you. That's great.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's fabulous. It's fabulous, and you'll make it your own. You know, you'll come up with like how it just feels comfortable for you, so it doesn't feel like you're sort of forcing it or surging or something. But like the outline of what you just did just felt so compelling. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, you want to try the next one?
Yeah, can I go to the scherzo now?
Oh yeah, let me just hear this, the one starting on the B flat.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You know, there's something about, I think, in a person's playing that creates a compelling case, if you can, within a diminuendo, within a piano, create a real spark. So, and there's different pianos here. So after these B flats, yeah, all this was great. Now there's something plaintive, right? Can feel a little. Yours was distant, but it can also feel kind of like this pleading. That kind of thing. Now, when you're in here, don't forget that you still want to be creating creating drama. It might be drama on a not a huge scale, but when you're here, don't forget that there's a little bit of a threat in that E flat going to the D. It can feel a little juicier somehow. So do you want to just go baby? Yeah, this is good. Great. And then and I think just like being very purposeful about what those, what you're gonna do where, not that you plan things out 100%, but just to know, like, okay, here this character, here this character. So for like at the beginning of that little excerpt starting on the B flat, I wonder if you can be even, it felt full and it felt played out, but I wonder if it could feel even more golden toned, like nothing forced at all, nothing. It's just like, it's like yummy, it's like when you're playing and you're in that mezzo forte / forte zone where it just feels like everything is, the resonance of the instrument is your friend, that kind of feeling right there. You want to just start right there, and then maybe, what do you think, like, where are you trying to phrase? You want to go to the E flat and kind of away to the B flat? Are you trying to go all the way to the B flat? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I was coming away from the E flat.
Okay, and what happens if you go to the B flat on the next bar? Just make it like just a long phrase towards the B flat. Loved it. Yeah, I really loved it. I really loved it. It had so much of so many qualities, but on a subtle level. It wasn't like you weren't shouting that here I'm doing this, here I'm doing that. It just felt right. It just felt like you played the music. Yeah, really great, really great. Okay, so so that kind of thing can be applied here all over the place and all over this piece. Even things like just thinking about, we're so used to feathering and tapering things, which is just a wonderful skill to have, but occasionally we want to leave a note unfeathered. This sort of like give it into the ether sort of thing.
Yeah.
And also just one little thing, which is that you're doing this beautifully. I just want to iterate the concept of, we're in our G, we're in our long G, and it's a pretty dead note because it's not really a solo. So it has a certain color to it and a certain vibrato, a kind of slower, just slightly slower vibrato wave, and then when we play the next G, it's like slightly different. So I don't know if it's so. All of a sudden, it's like it's transformed from being more accompanimento, sort of floating, and now all of a sudden, like bring us to you with that note.
Yeah, yeah,
That sort of concept. Great. Okay, you want to do the scherzo?
yeah. If I can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, talk to me about character. What are you going for here?
Super like. I think about just like a beach ball, like hitting it lots of times, just keeping it up like high and sort of fluttery and very light, like no heaviness at all.
Good. Yeah, and I think what can help that is even a greater sense of phrasing, of taking it from here and bringing it there. I don't think there's anything wrong with starting this at a great distance away, and just bringing us a little closer. So when you start it. We get the sense of really the travel towards the third bar, and to the extent that you can, finding the singing within that third bar, and then so within your beach ball character, there is just a slight sort of micro character of singing it within the slur, the third and fourth bars.
Right.
In particular being sung and then bouncing away again. So you want to just try that?
Yeah.
This is better for sure. And I wouldn't even insist on the articulation of it. I would just think as fluffy as you can be, like if you're playing a string instrument, you're just using like the one hair off the bow. Somehow you're advancing, but the tongue does not get like more insistent as it goes along.
Right.
Yeah, and somehow keeping the brightness of the articulation, even as it's not too insistent. It's sort of getting in the weeds, but you don't want it to sound too like tha 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 tha, but you want the articulation to not be too pungent, so creating the energy without the impact.
Right, okay.
Beautiful. Yeah. You're totally. That's absolutely the right thing. Yeah, that it's like light and free, and at the same time has that energy. Great.
Yeah,
That's wonderful. And then so what I think is the third and fourth bars have this there's like that slight micro character in there, right, where it sings, and then the E flat can feel even more bounced. So can just have this like after this, now it's bright-eyed again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah, without the impact of the E flat. Yeah.
Right. There's too
But
much.
but that's the idea. It's a kind of an internal energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And the only other just little tiny thing to think about is direction towards the third bar, but not an impact on the downbeat of the third bar. Think of the whole third bar as a sung thing. So I'm almost underplaying the first beat. And bringing out the eighth notes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get all the detail of it, but you get a kind of nice curvy third and fourth beat bars.
Yeah, without slamming the bar line.
Yeah, you almost want to start developing. I mean, I'm sure you do, but even more like really honing in on the difference between like an articulated articulation and a slur articulation. So that there's a difference between like the energy that you're trying to generate from a staccato note, for example, and the sort of matte finish of an articulated beginning of a slur. You know, so we like that difference between that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you can do it very quickly. You can switch from one to the other. But I find that really useful for most mixed articulations where you want to have the slur be slightly more singing than the staccato. It's nice to feel like you have two different articulations that sort of offset each other.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Frank, can I ask? We're almost out of time, but I want to make sure I ask you. There's a little bit of a discussion, I guess, in the excerpt world, because the fourth movement excerpt is, the big solo at the end, is not always asked. But when it's asked, can I ask you, are you looking at the part? Do you have measure numbers?
Yes.
I want to ask you about bars 381. And I don't expect you'll be sitting on too many oboe auditions in the Cleveland Orchestra in the near future because you have three wonderful colleagues. But just in case, one day, what do you think of the articulation of these two bars, which are in some auditions not marked staccato, unlike everything else before?
Okay, so just give me. I actually don't have bar numbers, so
So
just sing it real
I'll
quick.
sing it too. So
Yeah.
so mi sol mi re fa la. Yeah, that.
I see. Just right at the end there.
Yeah, because in some auditions, it's not marked, including some scores, because everything else is absolutely short and it's staccato
Right.
markings. La pa 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 si do do short short short, and that one is not. This bar and a half essentially is not marked
Yeah.
short. It doesn't have any
Yeah.
staccato markings.
We have a funny thing that happens in this piece when we do it with Franz. He insists. There's this one famous part. It's going along, fum 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 fum, fa 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 fa, and then it all of a sudden turns into that, and it's I respect Franz and his textual know-how and his fidelity to the text, but Beethoven is really notorious for this kind of stuff. He's writing articulations, he's writing them out, and then for some reason he just leaves it out. And I'm pretty convinced of playing that similarly to how you've been playing it.
I happen to agree. What would be your advice to an oboist who has made his way to the finals, and it's down to him and two other guys, and they're about to play this? Like, what do they do in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, do it. I think in an audition, your best bet is to do it from the heart. So if you're convinced by it, convince them that yours is the only right way.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, Colton. Bravo.
Thank you.
So we have Quinton. Quinton, did you get the audio to work?
Yes, I think it works now.
Quinton, just introduce yourself. Tell Mr. Rosenwein about yourself.
Hi, my name is Quinton Smith. I'm a second-year master's student here. I study with Russ, and I'm playing the first fantasy by Telamon today.
Great.
Quinton just played his recital, which I look forward to hearing. I haven't heard it yet, but it looked fabulous, the clip that I heard on Instagram.
Thanks.
Fantastic. Yeah, wonderful, Quentin. Wonderful. This is so nice, and talk about sort of playing with our expectations. This is you're doing a lot of that. This sounds very free. This sounds very yeah, you're following your own instincts, your own feelings here. I mean, it's great. It feels like a complete performance. So Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. I mean, the only thing that I can offer really is just a few little suggestions about what appeals to me and what you might take from that. Um, one thing that was interesting, but I'm not sure. It was as effective. I think you could get an effect like what you were doing without, for example, in bar 15 and 16, without having the tempo be so different from what you had previously. That is to say, for me, it might be more about the kind of direction that you're creating in the 3 previous bars, and then the character, which happens at 15 and 16. So, for example, it's interesting, right? You're playing this really nicely. This kind of fuguey thing, right? It's great. Like, you're bringing out voices here, which is lovely. Now 15, maybe instead of doing a tempo thing, you could do there's kind of a spiky thing that you're getting here in 13, 14. And what if 15 and 16 becomes maybe more beseeching, maybe a little bit longer. So if you're so that you get a similar kind of distinctive character without having to without the tempo being too much part of that. Now, and then the only other thing that I might suggest is even more variability here of articulation. So especially when you're in these passages that have a lot of eighth notes happening, you could, for example, just experiment with length here. So let's see. Yeah, right after we're here, we're in 16. Depending on what you're trying to bring out, you lengthen it, the other things become less. And then depending on whether you want to create more tension or generate more interest, or whether you're coming away from something, or say transitioning into something else, then maybe you can soften the articulation. So, just as an example, right there, right? So the kind of easygoing fluffiness of the articulation in bar 18 can help lead you into that sequence starting with the 16ths. Then the other thing with that is I wouldn't mind just a little bit more in and out. So being that this is a solo piece and being that it's Baroque, I think you can have much more of a sense of bringing it from way out here, like it's way in the background. We don't even know it's coming at us, and then coming away. So like Doppler us, So for example, even starting there. The sense of it being, this kind of thing where this kind of thing, and if you combine that with the thing with articulation, right, with a kind of variability of the articulation, now we have something. So there's no insistence whatsoever on any of those articulations. and then you're going like whatever. Now that you're in front of us, right? You were way back here in the country, and now you're here right in front of us, and now it can be super super vital. But then you can disappear back into the country. This kind of thing. And then the forte becomes even more palpable, even more shocking. All right. Well, why don't we do a little bit of this? Why don't you start from your fugue? Why don't you start from 11? Yeah. And I would I might even go through this slowly just to see like where are the possibilities for quick changes here, even within your fugue. Like when you have the hats, say in bar 11. It can be a slightly different character in bar 11 than 12, right? So a little bit more insistent, maybe just having more of this like poise to it, and then more grazioso when it comes to 12. And then the three pickups to 13 can be of a different kind, right? Like you have all these doopy, up and down, and now we have linear, so go with that. And then we have up and down and up and down and up and down, and then the more linear it gets, the smoother you can be, this kind of thing. Yeah, but this is good. This is great. All right, let's do a little bit of let's do a little bit of the end of this. Sometimes this ending, I think you did a really nice job here. Sometimes the ending can feel somehow unsatisfying. Maybe think simplifying, like that we go from complexity to something more simple. So, for example, starting, the second to last line, for example, like here. This is something complex here. Culminating in this very angular chord right here. A D sharp and then a C sharp. It's very, so it's crunchy, right? But bleed it out after that. So that becomes the like sort of central point of the. The kind of just smokiness of that. So you want to just try it, maybe tee-da-dee, da-da-dum, tee-da-dee, ta-da-dee. A few bars before the end.
Okay.
It's really lovely. maybe you can do what you want to do in bar 34 without having to for the tempo to jump.
Okay.
So so find how you can create all that drama there, and surprise us. And you can do something within the context of a cello-rondo. That seems totally legit. Why don't you try that from 33?
All right.
Good. It jumps though. It jumps like right at 35, 34. So why don't you get there? You know, already.
Right.
So you're dashing, say in the middle of 33.
Okay.
Yeah, and to enhance the smokiness, even relax your sound, relax the so it can be limp, you know. I mean, we talk about like strong air, and we talk about support and stuff, and I think in this case, this might be one of the cases where, look, just let things like a balloon, just let it go. So you have all this wound up tension. It's like you have nothing left. You're just like you're a two-dimensional object at that point. Yeah, just into 35 somehow. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. The last thing is when you have this inflection point at the beginning of 35, where you've arrived at this thing, commit to that character. So even the pickup to the C sharp has the vitality, you know, type. This kind of thing, and also like, you know, sometimes a trill can be very elegant to come away. Here you can just drill. What I'm doing is ugly, but you know, but this kind of the commitment to it, it's not like you just decided to be loud and then no, it's like this moment is one of intense energy from which you will be ascending, you know, to the clouds. So anyway, great, yay, thank you, that's beautiful. Do we have like a second, or is that
We have about a minute or two. So
okay,
sure.
okay, good. I just wanted to talk about the allegro for 1 second, which is to say, sometimes it's helpful to think of Baroque music as a in terms of like a pendulum. I mean, I talked a little bit about background and foreground, right? Like being way back here and then bringing yourself here. But also this concept of things having like an ictus, you know, starting from here. It's dance, right? It's all about the dance. Your foot goes up and it plops down, and then your next foot comes up and it plops down, and so there's this constant kind of pendulum. So the more you can find out where your fulcrum lies, I think the more effective this is. Sometimes it's 2 bars and 2 bars, right? Like you could imagine You know, but then after that, you can think of 5/6 maybe going to 7, that kind of thing. But and even within the first 4 bars, you can come up with your own concept. I mean, a dance can easily go. So, I mean, so it doesn't really matter whether you're starting from here and going to here, or you're starting here and going to there. But in any case, having a clear notion of what's important in terms of your parabola. So why don't you experiment a little bit with this? It's just a little bit like, you know, the concept is similar to starting it distant and bringing it forward, or starting it forward and bringing it distant, depending on what harmony you feel like you want to derive the most tension from. Yeah, good. That's excellent. And then if you can encapsulate, if you can inject that into a character that I think maybe is a little bit more of this like a Baroque minuet, like a just a very genteel affair. It doesn't have too many edges or too many like pokes, but really has all the elegance of. So then, you know, trills become just this little like this fluttering, and we don't land on things so much. So I like what you're doing in the second bar, for example, like going to the second bar, coming away, fine, but it has all of that, all of the roundness of what you're doing, this like this circular thing that you got, but like packaged within this just like effervescence. Yeah. And that's fine. And think of the powdered wigs and the kind of mannered steps, and I think you'll find a little bit more restraint in it. Like, I love that it, you know, we want dance to have motion, right? But also with this kind of Baroque thing, I think we also want to think like just very courtly. So we don't get the hoedown, but we only get like the most sort of elegant quality of it. Yeah, I mean, and I think you can add in, when you're adding in your ornaments, you can also think of that it doesn't necessarily like quicken things, it doesn't necessarily like make things more angular or more surprising, but adds to a kind of motion for the dancer. You know, whatever it is that you're doing, but the sense of it all sort of in motion and rounded. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's great.
Thank you, Quinton. Are you going to play more of these?
I think the next, because I did 11 before this, and I think I'm going to do 12 now. Yeah.
Right.
These are so great. I love these so much.
Wonderful. They one of the very few things that were not originally written for the oboe that work really well on oboe. Flutists might not agree, but we don't care. I think these are wonderful. Thank you, Quinton. So our last performer today is Andrew Port. Please introduce yourself and tell Mr. Rosenwein about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Rosenwein. I'm Andrew. I study with Mr. Izotov here. We met like 10 years ago and at CIM for a lesson a long time ago, so it's good to see you again.
Awesome. Good to see you. Fantastic.
And I'll be playing the first movement of the Mozart Quartet.
Okay. Yeah, bravo. Fantastic. Oh, it's so elegant, and it's got so much life, and so cottony, so lovely, and covered, and yeah, really it's very impressive playing. So thank you. This is great. One thing that I think it can help you is like the refinement is so refined that we lose a little bit of the muscle. Not that we want to be overly sort of we don't want to be like a tiger with this, but we need a certain backbone. That is to say, there's a bit too much of a tendency to retreat with everything. We need a little bit more like forward, go for it, give it to me, it's mine, grab it. So, for example, just right here, right at the beginning, bar 9, going into bar 11. So fine to come away from the D sharp, from the C sharp, obviously, but give us enough of the C sharp before we come away. But now here, maximize all that singing stuff in the high register. Anything you have in the high register that could possibly sing it. The thing with this piece is it is not this little jewel box. It's kind of like when you play Brahms Violin Concerto. That is not like this little solo that you can just like. I mean, Brahms Violin Concerto is Mark piano, and you gotta like. Sometimes you're belting that thing from your belly. You know what I mean? So this is similar. It feels like you got three. It feels like there's more than 3 strings playing with you oftentimes here. So, so anytime you want to retreat, anytime you want to come away, anytime you want to do all those elegant, beautiful things, just reconcile that with the idea that we need resonance, we need your stuff to get out there. So, why don't you just try it from right there? Yeah, it's really, really, really beautiful. Just fight the urge to come away too often. So, I mean, he gives us so many possibilities for coming away, right? So many appoggiatura, tension and releases, but a little bit, this can be a little bit like what we were talking about with Colton, which is to say, threaten that you will not diminuendo, that you are just going to blast into the resolution. You know, at the last minute or the last second, right? Okay, I'll come away. I'll move out of the way. But the same thing here. And even when you're going to come away even when you want to make a diminuendo kind of last, or you want to do a color, like you can change the color on that B, but it's still, we still try to avoid feeling like as soon as you play it, you must start retreating. Okay, it's coming. Yeah, this is the idea. And also, let's recognize, like in opera, or like in what we were talking about with Jini in the third movement of the Mozart, that that we have micro characters within a bigger character. So That is to say, you make everything so singing and beautiful in bar 11. And then there's that, and then that initial character comes back, right? And so all of the sparkle and spice of that. And remember, if we can do this kind of articulation where we have an articulation for the articulated notes for the staccato thing, and then a matte articulation for the slurred thing, and then a matte, we can do so much. You can actually sing into those high notes so long as your tongue doesn't give us the impact. Yeah, we're getting there. We're really, really getting there. Keep the character on the pickup. So you know how when you start this, yum bum, that character, that the thrust of the C, fa. You know, I think of it as like a tennis ball you throw down to the ground, poof, on clay maybe, right? And the clay goes poof, poof. That's the C, and that's the kind of thing that also you want to have happen in the pickup to 13. Maybe that's exaggerated, but you know, but that spice. You want to just try that. It's better. It's better. Yeah, yeah. The more you can find the character of that sparkle, that the kind of the wit, the kind of like, you know, twinkle in the eye, puckish, whatever you want. When you have those pickups, I think the better off you are. Great. And so then this becomes this. I don't say a war between. This becomes a conversation between that which is vital and bright-eyed, and that which, you know, is tender and wants to sing. So a lot of this you can think of it in those terms. Yeah, this duality here, and I think that's so important for Mozart, right? This duality of the tenderness, of the earnestness, and then that essential, you know, mischievous nature. So why don't you keep going here, like bar 17. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. What if that forte piano were more of the imp, you know? So you dash off into bar 18, and then yep, bump B, and now G, whatever. Yeah, and even a slight hesitation, just the slightest hesitation, after the B flat. No, it's after the A. It's after the A, right? So we have the B flat and the A. Yeah, but not being late, but placed. Yeah, and let the beginning of 18 be the realization of all this potential energy that you've created, right? So you've created this. Oh, sorry. But, you know, so the energy up. And now and you hold it up. And then, yeah, let it down. Beautiful. Yeah, and that's great. And I love that color, right? But don't give away that color. Don't give away that color. And if you are you so, for example, and you have this like layered thing going up. So starting in 21, um, body, bum. Now you're gonna reiterate it, but in a higher level. And you're gonna blow out your C, and you're gonna really go for it. I mean, that's like a rollicky good time, right? Like you've reached this thing, and you're going for it, and nothing can stop you. It's party time, and then so. Now you can add in just a little shadow, right? Like, oh, is my mom knocking on the door? And put away the booze real quick or whatever. So, go at 17. One more time. Yeah, keep going. Let's keep at this, right? So just find what is this kind of thing? I mean, this is a huge, giant, enormous leap, right? This is a kind of characteristic of this piece, with Mozart giving us these just enormous leaps that you would never expect out of something of this era, right? So what is he doing? Like, what does it mean? How do we even like express that huge register gap there? Yeah, this is fine. And the other thing that you want to just do in here, and I'm sort of trying to hint at it or express it, which is that to just find the spark, find the you in it. I mean, it's about expressing Mozart, but you are the explorer. And your discoveries are totally valid. So like for example, that stretch between I. So what happens if you dig out the G and then lighten the D? I mean, God, but this kind of thing, why? It's like it can highlight it, right? It can find like the meaning of this huge thing, like. It's got all this like suavity. It's just there's something so beautiful, so poignant about starting that G, and then all of a sudden you wind up on the D, and then here. I think it's totally legit to do a little echo here, but what if you keep everything energized? So again, no retreat really into 47. All the retreat happens later. Let's give this a shot. This is the last thing we'll do. Let's the pickup into 39. That's it. That's it. That's it. I mean, for you especially, Andrew, like trust yourself that you have all of the finesse that you need. That even if you go for something, even if you're trying to play it and jangle it and kind of, have a jagged edge to it, you're not even gonna let yourself. Like you're so refined that you won't let yourself. So you can allow yourself to go for that kind of thing even more, and just trust that even in Mozart, even when you're going for something, you're still gonna have that finesse. Like this was so great. I loved the quality of the E in 47. You went for it, and at the very end of it, like you didn't let it get wild or crazy, but it carried over. The character of the energy of it carried over into that bar, and then that echo was meaningful. Like it was really, you had us going this way, and then all of a sudden you pushed us back that way. Yeah, that's the best.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you, Andrew. Bravo. Well, by now everyone has played, and we have a few minutes. Mr. Rosenwein has a concert to play tonight, but I thought now is your chance to spend the next 5 minutes or so to ask him questions that you may have.
Yeah, we got time. Yeah, ask away.
Quinton.
Hi. So when you started your position in the Cleveland Orchestra, what did you find like that like had to change to like fit the group, or like what did you find that you did differently now that you like had that position compared to like the previous orchestra you were with, etc.?
Yeah.
You should know which orchestra he was with. You know which orchestra he was with?
A really good one. Yeah.
To ask that question, yes, it is a really good one. San Diego Symphony. Go on.
Yeah, but well, I mean, I was just so lucky because having studied in Cleveland, I was coming back to play in the orchestra that sort of shaped me, and now those who taught me were my colleagues. So slightly different situation than what you might find for most people, right? Most people don't like take over their teacher's position. So I have to say I was just so lucky. But even within that, there are so many adjustments, and it's bewildering, and there are adjustments in terms of the schedule, right? Like you have to. So now all of a sudden, so you're used to, even in San Diego. I mean, we would have like 2 concerts a week, but then now you have 4 concerts a week. And so, and the level has to be that much. So even that, even just figuring out those kinds of things, like how am I gonna have reeds to last me for this long? But I think the best thing to do in terms of the finding your voice within the orchestra is to trust your voice, and trust that you don't know you're right you're just at the beginning. People think that like you get that job and then like you got a job, so therefore you have the answers. No, it's like you get the job and you're lucky enough, now you can start to accrue knowledge. So I still feel like I'm adjusting and trying to figure things out, and well, I was going down this path for a while, but I think this path is better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Rosenwein, I have a question about your setup, nerdy as it is. I wanted to ask about your just like gouge, shaper tip, that sort of stuff, just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Well, shaper tip wise, I like the Mac family, Mac plus plus, Mac Pfeiffer. It's basically what I use, and then gouge wise, I prefer to use a Farillo, but I've been I hang my head to say no. It's fine. I've been using the Inaletti a lot these days, and that's been working out for me. But these things you know, this stops working, and then you pivot and you go this way, and then that stops working, and then so I'm rocking the Inal Eddy, which I find just be consistent, and I can do what I need to do. You know, staples wise, I've been using these. I have two staples that I like. One is the Guercio 47 AMs. I don't know if we're familiar with that, but I found them to be up to pitch and resonant. And the other one that I like is Kyle Mustaine, the English horn player in Pittsburgh. He's been putting out his pandemic project was to create some staples, and I like them. I like them. I've been using those two almost exclusively. Yeah, Colton.
This is a cliche, but I always like the answers. What, like on a week-to-week basis, inspires you musically?
I mean, I'm always inspired to do better than I did before. There's always room to create and hone that, like, you know, if there's like a certain, you can imagine there's like a certain truth to any note or any solo or something, to like ever get closer to that truth. That's exciting to me. That's exciting to me. And also like the collaboration, it becomes like the collaboration with the colleagues. How can we create even more of the flobo or the clarinet oboe timbre, or so yeah, I mean, that I think those two things, like self motivation, you know, how can I ever, and then what can I do to create an even better ensemble. I think those are the main things.
Jeannie, would you like to ask Mr. Rosenwein a question?
My
No pressure.
question is kind of similar to Colton's. I was gonna ask how you keep yourself like stay motivated, especially when you're feeling kind of like burnt out.
I mean, I have to say that I just feel so lucky. I mean, I mean, I don't know if my situation is so replicable, but you know, because I really, I have great colleagues, but it's something that you cultivate also. Like, you know, the person that you are creates in some ways like the environment around you. But but yeah, I mean, not to say that I don't get burnt out, but yeah, the like the search for truth, right? The search for bettering yourself, and like, I could do this better. I could, oh, if I only had this, you know, I've been working on this in the practice room, so maybe I hope that it's getting better, you know, and I'm constantly listening to like recordings back of myself, trying to see like, oh, why is it so flat, or whatever, you know. So that just, it just continues, you know. That's just like all the stuff that you do as a student. I think the more you're, I don't know. That's how I've always thought of it. I'm still a student, you know, still like trying to figure this stuff out. Yeah.
Follow up. Have you always been so intrinsically motivated, or has that shifted over time?
Obviously there are dips, right? There's it's slightly up and down, but I would have to say yes. I would have to say yes. I would have to say that like I was always eager to do it. And I think if you aren't eager to do it, I don't know that like pushing through is the best. I kind of feel like you know, right now I kind of have a built-in like, I mean, I just can't sit at the read desk, you know, for hours and hours, right? I have just like, the family becomes this kind of built-in barrier, but then that barrier becomes you know, it's also helpful. It's also helpful to have like a limiting factor to your playing, because you don't want to be playing like constantly 8 hours a day. I mean, there's a time for it, right? You got to prepare for something, but you need that inspiration. You need that like that sense of, you need to have the right combination of, okay, I'm pretty sure that everything's gonna work, and then so I've practiced it and I have my reads, but I'm not gonna like drive myself crazy drilling, um, because that leaches the joy.
Yeah, that's. I mean, both Colton and Jeannie asked something that's one of the most remarkable things about you, which is a long list anyway. But um, I want to say that it's funny. You were once much younger than me. Now we're sort of like the same age. So like when you came in the scene,
Yeah.
um, my teacher Ralph Gomberg told me about you the first time. There's this kid, Frank Rosenwein at Tango. You got to hear him. And ever since those days, since I've come to know you, become friends and colleagues with you, I think that Mr. Rosenwein combines not just one enviable quality, like a great musician, great this, great that, but I mean the balance of things, because you are a wonderful player, you're a remarkable teacher, and you're like shockingly normal. And this is, I mean this in the best sense of the expression, because our world revolves around so many things that are difficult, and we have to learn how not to say no from an inanimate object, as our teacher John Mack once said. So um, I want to say, first of all, thank you, Frank, for spending these 2 hours with us to hearing our wonderful students, and a lot to think about artistically, instrumentally, read-wise, and musically. But one of the things that I know will stay with all of us is just how sincere and enthusiastic you are about just the very process of making music, because it can get lost in the details of oboe playing. Every instrument has their problems, but we certainly know what ours are. And this kind of excitement and just genuine enthusiasm that you've had for as long as I've known you, you've always been this way, and he's still this way, being famous, renowned teacher and player, but he's always been this way. So I think that's a really great example of how to do this and retain a wonderful balance of life. So thank you for this class, and thank you for being this role model for all of us.
Oh
Thank
my
you, Frank.
gosh! Wow! Well, that was so kind of you.
I'm not that kind. Just ask them. If
Woo.
you think I'm kind, ask them in private what they really think of me.
Well, I just would like to say that in return, it's such a pleasure to hear all of you, and to know you're in such great hands. Yeah, it's really fabulous. There's something so earnest and cultivated and cultured and so wonderfully uh like polished, and I mean, I just, all you're playing, it's really good. I hear the Izotov in you, and so thank you guys. It's a pleasure to hear all of you.
Frank, thank you again. Have a good con.
Okay.
Okay.
Love you.
Bye, everybody. Great playing. Take care.